The 2-week pay period, invented in 1938 and still making us wait until daily pay, where everyone can access their money on demand. This is the future of pay. Learn more at dailypay.com. Transfer fee may apply.
This episode is brought to you by Fox One. Watch all 104 matches of the FIFA World Cup live in 4K for just $19.99 a month with 3 days free. Build your own multi-view, choose up to 3 streams, and follow player spotlights. Stay on top of every moment with live stats, highlights, and instant replays. The FIFA World Cup, streaming live on Fox One. Offers are subject to change. See fox.com for complete terms and conditions.
The Rita Cosby Show, entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Breaking news.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, President Trump has signed the Memorandum of Understanding. And now the hard work begins. 60 days to reach the agreement. In the meantime, the Strait of Hormuz is expected to open at any moment. And then the talks will really get into the nitty-gritty and also the verification process. And I don't like a lot of this. I'm very skeptical of Iran. I'm not skeptical of President Trump. And yeah, there are a lot of critics out there tonight. There's a lot of critics on both sides of the aisle. And I can understand frustration by some of the folks on the Republican side. On the other hand, you got to give President Trump an incredible amount of credit for taking it to this moment with Iran like no other American president has. And he's also said that if they violate it, they will be bombed into kingdom come. So take a listen. Again, here's what he says about the Memorandum of Understanding, and different than any other president. First of all, the other American presidents didn't threaten that. And number two, President Trump means it because he has already done the pounding and he'll do it all over again, he says, if needed.
He gave them everything, including a lot of money, which we don't give them, by the way, just in case you have any question. We'll be giving this out so you can read it and you can see. And it's a memorandum of understanding. If it doesn't get done in 60 days, that's all right. We go back to bombing. You know, I don't want to do that because it's so good. But we might have to, because we're never going to let them have a nuclear weapon. But they've agreed not to, and you'll see that very clearly in the agreement.
Now, he says they've agreed never to have a nuclear weapon. So one of the big issues is funds. He says that there are some frozen Iranian funds in the United States. And listen to his prospect. He says it's not American money, but if Iran behaves, they'll get the Iranian money back. Listen to this.
Better.
Can you explain, though, what the difference is between giving Iran U.S. dollars and unfreezing U.S. dollars for
Well, the unfreezing is an easy one to answer. We have taken a lot of their money, and we have their money. We have taken their money. It's not our money. It's their money, and we froze it. At a certain point in time, I guess we're going to have to give it back. You know, if we didn't give it back, nobody would ever invest in the dollar again. If you took their money, because I thought about it, you know, I'm not the most perfect person. I said to Scott, why do we keep their money? What the hell are we giving it back to them? But, you know, people from lots of nations, some nations we don't agree with, they have their money. The dollar's become very strong under me. And they don't want to have a little conflict with somebody and end up having the United States just take their money. So if you do that, you really don't have a system.
And I did just want to ask you about this. A wise man.
And that was Peter Doocy there of Fox News asking the question. And now here is President Trump on the enriched uranium. Remember, that's well below a lot of rubble because those B-2 bombers came in and hit those sites. That was last June, remember. So here's what he had to say about the enriched uranium.
Have been living in hell. So they'll work closely with us to turn over the so-called enriched material that's very deep in the bowels of the earth. Very deep. Nobody can get it. So it's not important that we do it quickly, but we could do it fairly quickly. When we have a chance, we'll do it. But in the meantime, we have cameras on every inch of it. Nobody can do it. And if they do, we'll hit them with Patriots, that's all. And they'll be gone. And they know that.
Hit them with Patriots, and they'll be gone. There is no doubt that he will use it, too. And he's not going to mess around. If Iran starts really acting up and does some very serious actions, which I believe they will. I have zero doubt. 100% doubt, I should say. Zero faith in the Iranian regime and these zealots. And I believe President Trump knows what he's doing. Already you could see gas prices going down, oil prices going down. And also he continues to try over and over again to get path for peace. I mean, I'll give him a lot of credit. This is not like a warmonger. There are a lot of people, President Trump's a warmonger. He's this, he's that. And listen, the Democrats are always going to criticize him no matter what he does. And then you got President Obama, which I found really distasteful, who's going to open up his really horrible looking building tomorrow. And he's out there slamming President Trump. I think that's very unprofessional, especially President Obama, who did nothing to stop Iran. And he's trying to rewrite history and make it sound like, he's the guy who really kept Iran in line. What a joke. And here is President Trump, because he made a very clear distinction between Obama and the JCPOA, that deal that Obama did, and what he's doing today. Here it is.
And they became a much different country. And then I terminated the JCPOA. That's Barack Hussein Obama's horrible deal that gave them a nuclear weapon. And I terminated it, and I stopped it. And then I stopped it a second time with the B-2 bombers. And these are all major events in the history of the world, in my opinion, because it prevented them from having a nuclear weapon. And now we're going to do it again, and we're going to see how it works out.
And here is K.T. McFarland, former deputy national security advisor under President Trump. We talked with her earlier on Katz and Cosby, and she said there are very clear distinctions between what Obama did, which was nothing except bring cash, those 1.7 billion pallets of cash in the middle of the night. And remember, there was a sunset clause. There were no restrictions on Iran. The inspections were not anywhere, anytime. There's a big difference, and here's how she described them.
To me, this is the only resolution of the situation that has a prospect of a peaceful generation. Anything else, either leaving a powerful mullet, they're not powerful. They don't have any proxies. Obama didn't do anything, right? The proxies remained. The missile systems were there. The nuke program, they could have nukes within a decade. Obama had none of this other stuff. President Trump has done what Reagan did in the Cold War. It's called the anaconda theory, by the way. It's the anaconda policy, where you have a snake that just sort of wraps itself around and around and around and strangles them. And so what Trump did was got rid of the proxies, got rid of the terrorists, got rid of the finances, and then with the military operation, got rid of their military and their army, and their navy, their air force, their command and control, their missile defense systems in Syria, understands where the money is now. We now have complete visibility of all the banks. So let's say Iran says, okay, we're going to sell our oil tomorrow. We're going to make all this money. We're going to build hospitals. We're going to see if they're building hospitals. If they're not building hospitals, if they're starting to rebuild nuclear sites, terrific. We'll bomb the nuclear sites and we'll cut off the money.
And I have a feeling the bombs are going to start flying pretty soon from the United States. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Liz in Florida on line 5. Go ahead, Liz.
Hi, Rita. First of all, congratulations on your award. So well deserved. I'm really proud of you.
Oh, Liz, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I share it with all of you guys, because you guys are the reason the show is so successful. And I got my 11th Gracie, which is really fun, voted by my peers. But if I can vote for my listeners, it's you guys. So you get number one.
You're number one.
Thank you.
So Rita, I think President Trump should start deducting the amount of money he'll be giving to Iran, because Iran was the mastermind of how many terrorist attacks here and in Israel. And all that destruction that they did, they should be punished. And the only punishment that affects them is money. So I think you can't put a price on life. So I think at least $300 billion sounds like a good number.
Hey, I think that's a good idea. And you know, I also wish, and it's a very hard thing given what's going on there. I wish there was some way. I like what you're saying, to give money to anybody who's been, brutalized by this Iranian regime. And that includes the proxies, too. I mean, I'm thinking about the actions of Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis. The other thing I'm also thinking about, Liz, too, is it would be wonderful if there was a way. And obviously, this is a dream at this point because the scenario is not able to, unfortunately. But I'd love to see money going into the Iranian people, those protesters. I'd love for all of those courageous citizens there to be getting funds, to be having allocated money to them. That would be great. Obviously, it's not possible in this regime, and you can't guarantee they'd be able to keep a dime of it. But I wish there was some way, like you're saying, to give it for the right causes and embolden them to rise up. And I'd love to get arms and weapons to those protesters, because boy, how courageous they have been, in their families, and the loss that they have suffered. The 40,000 people that were executed in about a 1 month span alone. I mean, this regime, they're monsters. They're monsters. Do you have any faith, Liz, that I have no faith they're going to keep their end of the bargain. But what I do have faith is that President Trump is keeping the military right there in the area, because he knows, too, he doesn't have very much faith either.
Well, I'll tell you, Rita, instead of giving military to the people of Iran, you get Mossad to go remove the regime easily. And then you have a great regime, and then all Iran will be wonderful, and nobody will need to hurt each other. When I hear President Trump speaking about them, like they better behave, he sounds like a parent reprimanding their child. And then, you think about it, back in the day, the parents would say, okay, be good, don't go out at night. Oh, yeah, we'll be good. And then, of course, they sneak out again. So my feeling is, I ask you, what does 10 years look like from now? Iran, they're not to be trusted. We all know that. You can't negotiate with terrorists, period.
You can't, and which is why I said, Liz, and I'm always, very honest with all of you guys. I actually wish he had taken it further from the military perspective. I'm not the president of the United States, and I'm not looking, at all the different pieces of the puzzle. You brought up an interesting point, too, about the Mossad, because Mossad would happily go in and take out more of these people. So maybe there is something that can be done where, the U.S., he didn't want to have boots on the ground, and I appreciate that as an American. But the Israelis would be willing to do a lot of things. So maybe there's something that, next time they really get out of hand, and I think they will get out of hand. I'm not talking nukes. I'm talking, massive drone strike or something else, that they will do. And I anticipate, not even 10 years from now, I anticipate, 10 days from now, that may happen. Weeks, maximum. There's no doubt in my mind. And at that point, maybe that's when he says, hey, Bibi, unleash. We're unleashing, you unleash. Who knows where it goes from here, Liz? What do you think?
Well, we're not in President Trump's head. I would love to, hear what he's thinking. I think all of us would. But I think that we should get it out there. I mean, for sure. Israelis, Mossad, 1, 2, 3, they'll be out. And then that solves everybody's problem. Yeah,
it sure would. It sure would. And the problem is there's a lot of them. And there's a lot of IRGC members. Remember, there's thousands upon thousands of them. And those are the hardcore ones. But clearly, I still think there needs to be less of them on the face of this earth. And I think we're going to see some pretty bumpy rides in the next few weeks. That's my sense, Liz. Unless they try to act like good little IRGC members, and then the 60-day mark hits, and then it's boom. They may want to try to get some funds or who knows what first, or get even some deals with the Arab countries, or sell their oil. Now they don't have to do it on the black market. They can do it out in the open, get some funds, and who knows what they're planning or plotting. That's why I I have zero faith in this, but I have a whole heck of a lot of faith in President Trump. Yep, go ahead.
With money, they can build new proxies. They can build the military back, and then they're back. They're, so I think money is
it's fungible. It's fungible.
Yeah.
That's the problem. And you can sit there and say, okay, well, we're going to monitor it and make sure it goes to, a bridge or a school. But they're not going to use it for a bridge or school. They don't care. If you're going to kill your own people, you're not going to care about giving them a nice school.
Yeah, lying is their life. Killing is their life. They want to get rid of us. They want to get rid of Israel. They want to just be the leader of the world. And for them, when they say something, their word means nothing. So but let's just pray, Rita.
Exactly. Listen, I still give President Trump an enormous amount of credit for taking us to this moment and the decimation and pounding. And again, I think part 2 may be coming soon too. We'll find out because I do not trust the Iranians. Liz, thank you very much. Everybody, we're going to continue after the break. 1-800-848-9222. And you're listening to The Rita Cosby Show.
The Rita Cosby Show
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The Rita Cosby Show. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And you are listening to The Rita Cosby Show, 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Mike in Maryland, line 3. Go ahead, Mike, your thoughts.
Rita, hey, thank you so much for taking my call. I love you. I love everything about your show and everything you do to fight the good fight.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. I appreciate it. I love America.
All right. So just a few quick comments. So, sorry, can you hear me?
Yep, I hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I hear a lot of talk about this $300 billion in rebuilding fund going to the bridges, schools, and hospitals. Since the start of our attack, or whatever you want to call it, in Iran, we've destroyed 0 non-military targets. So where is that $300 billion? Where is the $300 billion going if not helping to rebuild their military? I don't care who funds it, whether it's us, which clearly it's not, or their neighbors in the region, which why would they? What is that funding possibly going to other than rebuilding their military?
Well, that's a fair question. Now, we did hit a bridge, remember? And a lot of these locations and things we hit were dual use, like that bridge, which is a fair military target because military was using it for transportation. But it's also obviously used for civilian use. Remember, President Trump famously said, hey, take a look out your window. And then the bridge blew up, to show that they had full control there. So they'll be using that. Apparently, Karg Island and a lot of other locations, a lot of stuff within Tehran did get destroyed. Obviously, we were very careful. But you're right. I don't trust the Iranians whatsoever.
The Rita Cosby Show
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The Rita Cosby Show. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And it certainly has been an interesting news night with all of these details. President Trump now officially signing that Memorandum of Understanding, the MOU, as they call it, the beginning phases of a deal. The Memorandum of Understanding is sort of just the template. But President Trump, boy, is he the Energizer Bunny. He's on his way back now from France. He had a big dinner at the Palace of Versailles, a beautiful place, by the way. And that is where, indeed, Macron hosted him with a whole bunch of other European who's who. Then he is coming back to the White House. And tomorrow, he's going to be getting a whole bunch of intelligence briefings and also participating in a Medal of Honor ceremony. President Trump clearly cares about the U.S. military, and it was very important for him to try to do whatever he could to ensure no boots on the ground and also to minimize, any risk to Americans. Remember when the pilots went down, he sent everything in there to rescue them. And that was extraordinary. So he has always put, I think, our military first and foremost. And today, in the middle of all this stuff with Iran, and we're going to continue your calls on that, he also came out and he made an interesting comment about Afghanistan that hasn't gotten a lot of attention. I wanted to play this because I found this really fascinating, that he was saying that maybe we might be getting some of that equipment, some of the things back from Afghanistan, that Afghanistan, after seeing the pounding that he's done essentially to Iran, maybe they might be giving some of the material back. Listen to this. This is kind of a wild one.
Even military, take a look at what happened look at what happened in so many different locations. Afghanistan, that horrible retreat that these people made, leaving equipment behind. They weren't under any pressure. You take your time. You can get out. I was going to get out. We were going to get out with dignity and pride, take 100% of the equipment. I was even taking the tents down. But then they got in and they just left. They left all the equipment. I may get all that equipment back. Now, here's the thing. More symbolic, because it's a little old now. But we may get it all back. Afghanistan is kissing our ass. You know that?
That's kind of an interesting turn of event. The Taliban kissing his butt. And now here is President Trump also talking about the Democrats, because you got all these folks out there, these very far left, far left, not even far left. They're like in another planet. And I'm talking about crazies like Graham Plattner. You got this, Adam Holloway in New Jersey. You got Abdul El-Sayed in Michigan. You got, of course, the guy, let's not forget the guy in Philly, and let's not forget the mayor there in Seattle. And so here is President Trump talking about what he says are just the crazies upon crazies. And he brings up, of course, Graham Plattner, the guy with the Nazi tattoo in Maine.
The generics are very interesting because the Republicans are coming up strong even before this. You know why? They're seeing all these lunatics, like the guy in Maine with the swastika. You know, for 10 years they've been calling me a Nazi. And now they have a Nazi running. He's got a tattoo on him. I've been denying it for 10 years. They know it's not so, but they've been calling. I don't think they can call it to me anymore, you know.
I love that. How can they call him a Nazi, which was always ridiculous, when they have a candidate with a Nazi tattoo, who's had it on, by the way, for 17 years and still claimed, he didn't know what it was. I don't know if anybody believes that. I certainly don't. Meantime, President Trump also dealing with leaks about strategies coming from the Situation Room. That is supposed to be obviously top secret. And there have been a couple of so-called leaks that have been showing up in the New York Times. So who is undermining the president within his own circle? Or maybe it's an aide to a senior individual. But it's pretty scary and pretty frightening of what kind of forces may be working against this president, even from maybe someone in his inner circle. Here's Michael Goodwin, who was kind of breaking that scoop. He was with us earlier on Katz and Cosby. He's the Pulitzer Prize winning correspondent with the New York Post.
The New York Times gained access to at least 3 meetings in the Situation Room, either by somebody who was there telling them sort of word for word who said what, where they sat, or they got a recording of the meeting. But even if they got a recording, I would assume somebody gave it to them who knows what happened and therefore could describe the seating, etc. Sort of the aura, the shape of the room in terms of who sat where, what was on the video screen. So there's a lot of information now because everything in the Situation Room is classified. Then this looks to me like an open and shut case that this deserves a criminal investigation.
That is a biggie. And here is Professor Alan Dershowitz, who also joined us on Katz and Cosby with me and John Katz and also Judge Richard Weinberg. We talked about, in this particular case, the judge was asking him, how can you get to the bottom of this? Obviously, when you're dealing with the press, there's freedom of the press and all that other stuff. But This is a national security risk.
Alan, Michael Goodwin had a great column about the leak out of the Situation Room out in articles by the New York Times. And now my view is this is a breach of national security and it's a threat to our country. If you want to unravel this, if there were reporters from the Times who got this, I think you have to break their privilege and put them in the hot seat to make sure that you reveal that. Would that win in a case that national security trumps the privilege?
It might in a national security case, yeah. I mean, the courts are pretty protective of journalistic privilege, but when the journalistic privilege is to protect a serious crime, and it's a serious crime to reveal classified information from a meeting in the most secure office or the second most secure office in the White House. So I think they have a fair shot at being able to break the privilege. And, the question is, who's the source? Is the source somebody from within the administration? And I would think that maybe the administration could essentially say, and make everybody who is in the Situation Room sign a statement saying we waive any privilege or any confidentiality so that you feel free, if we were the ones who disclosed the information, to reveal it to law enforcement authorities.
That's a great idea.
Possible.
Great idea.
Yeah.
Well,
Trump could do it. All he has to do is have everybody in that room sign a waiver.
I love that. And maybe the ones who don't want to sign the waiver, maybe that's a good telltale sign. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Robert in Philadelphia. Robert, your thoughts tonight.
Hi, Rita. As always, it's good to talk to you. And I'm hearing nothing but doomsayers about this, and I certainly understand the consternation that people are feeling about it. You know what I mean? But some things occur that we now know that you really can't affect regime change when dealing with a country like Iran from the air. And doing the regime change would mean a boots on the ground forever war again, and we can't have that. I think that this plan could work because I'm confident that they would have the ways to monitor what's going on, particularly at the uranium sites and along the Strait of Hormuz, to keep Iran in line. And I also think that the Gulf states being on board. Rita, do you remember when the Russians went into Afghanistan? Hundreds of thousands of Muslim fighters came from all over the world to help Afghanistan fight Russia.
Yep.
Have you seen that with Iran? No, because they are the pariah. And everything comes down to whether or not, I'm confident in him getting a good deal. It all comes down to 2028, Rita. If the Democrats find a way in 2028, they're going to undo what Trump has done. We know this. But if the Republicans win again in 2028, by the time Democrats are in office again, the progress being made amongst the Muslims in the Gulf states and the entire region will be baked in, and I think it will be too late. This could work if we monitor it properly. I would love to see a regime change, but I don't think that's realistic without sending in the troops and getting into another forever war. And I don't think we need to do that.
Now, hey, Robert, what about allowing Israel, the Mossad, to maybe do some of that dirty work?
Well, that's something that's like in a myriad of things that could happen going forward that people aren't even considering when they're deciding whether this is a good deal or not. Of course, that's something that would be always on the table. I doubt it would be part of any negotiations, though. But
by the way, it definitely would not be, obviously. But who knows what's going on behind the scenes?
Absolutely, and that's why when I see, it's not going to work, or this could, I'm just saying all is possible. But he's doing this a different way. We're not getting into a forever war, and if it works, it's still going to be a beautiful thing, whether the Ayatollahs want to come into the 21st century or not. That's my point.
Yeah, I want to go back to also what you said at the very beginning, Robert, too, about the timetable, because that's why I started today talking about January 2029. Right. Because that is a concern to me. You're right. It has to be a path where whoever takes over after this, And I have full faith that President Trump, when he says that he's going to pound them to smithereens and, through the head. And I mean, you heard, he's not mincing words. He'll do it. I mean, that's the thing. And they know it. But what happens what happens if the wrong person's in the White House next go round?
Absolutely, because we know they did that with his great trade deals with China and Mexico the first time around.
They did it. By the way, they did it with the border. Remember, it was like, oh, good. And then thank goodness he came in and said, "What the heck is going on? Let's close the border." And he did that on day one. What about Keystone Pipeline? Remember, these are other important issues. But Iran is such a pivotal issue, as I think the border is, and obviously energy too. But my goodness, I mean, it just shows that who you put in the White House makes an enormous amount of difference.
And I would submit that if Vance or Rubio is the next president, this deal will work and we will win and we'll have peace in our time in the Middle East for the first time. That's what I was trying to say. 2028 will decide how well this deal goes, because I'm confident Trump will get a good deal.
Yeah, I agree. And listen, he has been tough, and I'm sure there's also a lot of behind the scenes things going. And I think they're going to break it. I have no faith in the Iranians, but I have a lot of faith that he will respond appropriately. And you're right. If the mantle is carried, then that will be a good thing for Trump and also for the world. Robert, thank you. Very much appreciate it. Let's go to Joaquin, also in Pennsylvania, which I love. You know how much I love Pennsylvania. Go ahead, Joaquin.
Really, you know how much I love you. And you know what? Before I forget, congratulations on your Gracie.
Oh, thank you, Joaquin. Thank you so much. I share it with all of you guys, so thank you.
But remember, I am your wingnut job, Joaquin.
Oh, no, never. You're our Joaquin. You're kidding. Forget the wingnut, but go ahead. I love nutty people.
Anyway,
go ahead.
You want to know something? I really want to go back. Oh, I will say one thing. Thanks for putting Russ on, because I think that me and Russ could probably sit down and be really good friends and dispute stuff.
Yeah, actually, last night he made a little bit more sense, if that's possible, but he did. I call him Rusty Russ, but go ahead.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. And to Sandra, I have many handguns. I love guns and also physical training and whatever else, so that doesn't make you a nut job. But anyway, so I will agree. When Robert called earlier from New York, okay, and he talked about Trump chastising Bibi Netanyahu and Israel for the things that they've done. I really agree with Robert on that, okay? And this is where the wingnut job in me comes out. I know that President Trump loves this country. I really do, okay? And I have faith in him. But I can't help but think that he has been threatened and his life has been, he was almost killed in Butler, and the establishment let that happen. And I can't help believe that he's being controlled by somebody, because I don't buy any of this stuff. I think that Iran, they went into Iraq and they just, they dismantled Iraq and Saddam Hussein and all that. And to say that we can't do that to Iran, I don't believe it,
Yeah, but remember, we sent in forces to Iraq, That's the difference, remember?
Right.
I mean, remember, remember how we lost a lot of lives and we sent a lot of people into, we had the tanks rolling into Baghdad. I mean, that's a very different situation. And in fact, there were a lot of mistakes made then too. Remember in that particular case, they all the revolutionary, the troops, I'm trying to remember what the names were of the Iraqi troops. Remember, they let go of all of those. They were disenfranchised, and then they turned on the American troops. So there were a lot of things that in hindsight, and then the whole issue of whether they ever had, any of the material too. That was the big issue too, of course, which, Colin Powell later came out and felt he made a mistake. And I mean, there were a lot of things. And I think, and listen, President Trump actually looked at that a lot and said, that's what we don't want here. So I appreciate that he's very careful, and he was very careful about not going, into, just pounding the place. He did hit that bridge. He made a point of hitting that bridge because it was a dual use to show that he could hit anything. But he's been so careful of this to sort of tread the line. And it's been amazing. I mean, how much destruction they've done, pinpoint destruction. But What we just were hearing about from Robert from Philly. Do you agree that at least a lot of it depends on having President Trump or somebody with his mindset in the White House? That, to me, I think is the key to all of this. Because if they do violate it, he will go in and pound them. And you want to have another leader who'll do the same thing.
Oh, no, I agree. I agree. Like I say, I love President Trump, and I believe he loves America.
Yes, he does.
But there are times I can't help but think that that he's being controlled by somebody. But when you consider our interstate system was designed for the specific purpose of being able to move the military around our country.
Right,
so
and that's why that bridge was fair game. Joaquin, we got to go to a break here and go to support our heroes, but we love you. You're not that much of a wingnut. Don't let anybody tell you, including yourself. Joaquin, we love you. Thank you so much. And now, everybody, support our heroes.
The Rita Cosby Show presents Support Our Heroes.
And this is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Support Our Heroes segment with a very powerful story from Camden, New Jersey, where World War II naval veteran Paul Robbins returned to the battleship New Jersey, the ship where he served as a young man. And also the ceremony honored that American sailor who helped write the first chapter of the ship's story. He returned to the place that he once called home. Now he's 101 years old, and Paul Robbins is the last known living World War II crew member to have served aboard that iconic battleship. He was just 18 years old when he joined the crew of the USS New Jersey. He served there for 3 years, helping to operate the ship's massive guns during World War II battles in the Pacific. And by the way, to preserve the legacy, I love this, Robbins in the ceremony this week signed an American flag that will fly atop the battleship New Jersey for years to come. And bravo to him and all of the members of the greatest generation. And everybody support America's military and first responder heroes. Donate just $11 a month to make an enormous difference via the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. They are the best. Be sure to check them out at T2T.org. That's T, the number 2, T.org.
The Rita Cosby Show
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The Rita Cosby Show, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Well, let's see where things go tomorrow with President Trump. He gets back just like he did. Remember, after the UFC birthday White House celebration, what did he do? A lot of reporters and everybody else went to bed at 2 a.m. He hopped on a plane and then he went over to the G7 over there in France. He is the Energizer Bunny. So he is now on his way back. He's having intelligence briefings, I'm sure talking a lot about Iran. And then tomorrow, he is also doing a Medal of Honor ceremony. And then let's not forget the big ticker tape parade for the New York Knicks. It is a full day in America, and we're going to have it all tomorrow night.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?